In 2005, at the age of 19, I was involved in a near-fatal car crash. Not only did I have to go and write my university exams in a wheelchair, but I also had to cancel my first trip overseas, which was a booked and paid for series of dance workshops in India. Now, all of these blows to my system at one time set me on a sort of spiritual quest for some answers. And so I studied some spiritual masters and some of their teachings, of which only now I'm beginning to understand. There was one through line that I seem to have stuck with me, and that is that at the end of the day, there is only one truth, and that is the truth that is in your heart. So this means that there is not only one truth, but as many different subjective truths as there are human beings. If I break it down to the core of what I believe humans seek, I come to the answer of happiness. And so I've developed an algorithm, which I hope can help guide you towards your happiness. As proof for the theorem, I'll illustrate some of my life experiences. And from there, I will share how and why I believe drama or some sort of creative outlet is a necessary means for personal development to aid you in your search for your truth, which will hopefully lead to your happiness. At the age of 3, my parents enrolled me into the only sport that was realistically and suitably available for a brown-skinned youth of apartheid South Africa, and that was Indian dance. At that time in the country, it wasn't necessarily easy for someone like me to do, let's say, ballet or hockey. It was insinuated that people of different cultural groupings should stick together, especially in their extracurricular activities. So many of the girls in the community would congregate at weekly dance class. And what started out as my hobby became my sport, and eventually my passion. So this brings me to the first variable in my algorithm. X equals passion. I love asking people this question. What is your passion? What makes you feel alive? Feel truly happy? It can be the simplest of things. It can change with time. For some people, it can simply be the very act of embracing change. But one thing remains constant about it, that inexplainable feeling you get from following the wild but rewarding path of passion. Ask yourself, what excites me? This is where you start to find your passion. As humans, we tend to learn things the tough way, though, don't we? I ignored my passion for a while, studied commerce, worked in the corporate field, but that passion always nags at you at the back of your soul. I eventually succumbed and quit my job in the corporate field, finally making my way to India on a government-sponsored scholarship to study dance. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out as I expected. Maybe I had too much expectation. But I returned to South Africa a couple of months later, a bit lost. Now, sometimes in life when we feel lost, we cannot remember the greater picture, but we just have to carry on, right? It was at this time that I stumbled upon, by absolute chance, a drama college right in my home city. So here I went to India searching for my passions and found them right back on my doorstep. There was only one problem, though. I had no idea what drama was, or the study of drama and what it entailed. Of course, by definition, I knew. But I wouldn't be able to have foreseen the impact and effect it would have on my life in years to come. So something told me this is what I need to do, and I listened. And this brings me to the next variable in my algorithm. Y equals embracing the unknown. Now, how do we do this? It's almost an oxymoron, right? Embracing or holding close what we don't know, the unknown. It is scary, let me tell you. But if you can learn to surrender that control we love to have over our lives, somehow this inherent conscious wisdom steps in. And if you can learn to trust it, it can guide you to the most divine life experiences. Easiest way to embrace the unknown, in my opinion, travel. So for the next 3 years, I immersed myself in this theater course, studying all of these amazing subjects like the history of theater and the science of acting. I'll explain a little bit later about that. Rudolf Lebun's science of movement. How does an old person move as opposed to how does a young person move? Drama in education, script writing, directing, how to produce a show, tap dance, stage makeup, etc., etc. I mean, people compare, people think drama is easy. I can compare it in difficulty and commitment to my studies in commerce. It was also in this time that I started to see the effect that drama was having on me as a person. For the first time, I was feeling new and important things like confidence, self-awareness, and awareness for others. It was also during this time that I started to develop a divine bond with my guru. And this brings me to the next variable in my algorithm. Z equals finding a guru, or mentor, or guide, or teacher. Now, what is a guru? It need not be an academic, for example. Someone who inspires you, someone who validates your ideas. It could be someone you meet in a coffee shop in some corner of the world. You strike up a conversation that forever molds you in some way. It can be a child. In Hindu scripture, there's a maxim called Mata Pita Guru Devam, which states that my guru is above my mother and father in my relation to the divine, whatever that might be for you. And you can have many different gurus in your life for different sects of your existence. So after 3 years of studying, I lived in a state of sheer passion for 5 years, creating my own works, dancing, choreographing, producing, lecturing in the field. And going back to our spiritual masters, somehow the man-made concept of time seemed to evade my life. They say if you live in a state of passion, this is what happens. It was also during this time that I produced my first one-woman play, which toured 14 times around South Africa with sold-out performances. But in retrospect, if I look back, I won't be able to tell you how or where the inspiration came. It was almost as if the play wrote itself. It was a story about the Devadasi girls in 19th century India, where Indian dance originated, and how they were shunned to brothels and shunned from communities into brothels after the British Raj, the British colonialists. Artist and author Julia Cameron, in her book, The Artist's Way, explains how it's important for an artist to clear your channel in order to become a vessel for creativity to flow through you. She speaks of how creativity is from the divine. I only came across this book years later, but that was certainly my experience during the writing of my play, Devadasi. At this point, let's quickly recap the variables in the algorithm. X equals passion, Y embracing the unknown, and Z finding a guru. Now, since drama is my primary medium, I will use it as an example and share a correlation of SAT scores reported by the Entrance American Examination Board, which stated that students involved in some sort of drama appreciation or drama performance course during their tests scored significantly higher, not only in the verbal, but also in the math sections of the test. How, you might wonder? Well, drama teaches life. Let me attempt to explain how. There is a model devised by my guru, Marlene Pieterse, called the MAC model, which states that before I involve myself in any drama performance or drama activities, via breathwork, meditation, warm up, I take myself from a space of me to a neutral space of actor before I step into the shoes of the character. Now, what is an actor? An actor takes on a persona other than his or her original self. So just as we don't put clothes upon clothes, we cannot step from a place of me straight to the character. Now, the study of drama teaches us how and why it's important to remove our social perceptions, our past experiences, our judgments, our ego, and become devoid. And when you are in this observative, devoid state, you are humble and open to that guidance which Julia Cameron speaks about in her book. Of course, then, to put on the character, you've got to make sure you know your lines, you've got to make sure you know the social perceptions and experiences of the character. Now, this study vires through psychology, physiology, emotionality, spirituality, and all of these things we learn through drama, we effect it in our lives, and we are not taught this by any other practical means except drama. Of course, it's also important, imperatively important, to reverse the process when you are done. Actor Heath Ledger comes to mind. And the study of drama teaches how and why it's important to reverse the process, taking off the character, neutral space of myself, of actor, before I step into myself again. At this point, I'd like to refer briefly to two parts in history, which highlighted to me how life and drama parallel. Let's think back to 500 BC and the golden age of the ancient Greeks. There were many sects of development in life. Pythagoras' theorem, Hippocrates' medical oath, still used today, and Aristotle, known as a Western father of philosophy, who wrote and codified about many topics of life, including drama and dramatic criticism. He wrote about why he thought drama was important to life, and he felt that the purpose of drama was to evoke from audience members feelings of pity and fear in order for them to emotionally purge for cathartic reasons and become emotionally stronger. Now, this is so important. What study in modern times teaches us how to become emotionally stronger? This is evident in Greek tragedies like Medea, Antigone, and Oedipus Rex, which is the fascinating tale of how destiny brought together in marriage a mother and son. Now we know this name Oedipus from the Oedipus complex psychoanalysis of Sigmund Freud. But only once studying drama did I realize and understand the inspiration and basis for his theorem. The tragic demise of Oedipus Rex, Greek mythology, and Greek drama. Now, the Greeks wrote about drama and dramatic criticism next to and equal in importance to other sects of life. Why? Because they knew and valued drama as an essential part of life. Let's fast forward to Hitler's Germany and the playwright Bertolt Brecht. Now, Bertolt Brecht was a medical doctor by profession, and he started writing plays when he noticed that people were living in a fog and he struggled to communicate with them. Once he noticed the power of his reach through the theater, he developed dramatic devices and theorems with which to effect social and political change within the minds of his audience members. In isolation, it might not seem so important, but at the time, imagine how important it was for people to think critically. I was greatly influenced by Brecht and his work in my writing of the Devadasi, in that I wanted to tell an alternative story to the one that we read in textbooks. This brings me to modern times. Our youth is something we want to consume with consumerism, atheism, plastic surgery, sex, drugs, alcoholism. We are not taught to think individually and creatively with imagination. Now, how do we instill these within ourselves and our young people? I believe embedding drama or some sort of creative, healthy outlets in our educative practices can restore critical thinking, referring back to the MAC model, and help humans reach that devoid state where they can be divinely inspired to follow their own ideas. And once we start to trust our own ideas, others start to trust us too. I would not be here today if it wasn't for drama and the effect it had on my life. I believe it helped me show me my truth, develop my ideas, and from there, find my inner happiness. And I want the same for all of you. If not my example, think of your favorite artistic icon. Their reach as a human being, the success their lives exude. And at the end of the day, they are just people. Dare to imagine a world where happiness is the answer. And this brings me to my algorithm. Use it, add to it. It might be the most important thing that you can do in rising to the challenge of being the best person that you can be. For yourself and for the world. Namaste.